It's on, right? Yeah. ये व्यू मैं देख रहा हूँ क्या, और वीडियो ऑन है क्या?
हो गया,
ठीक है। हेलो ऑल, ये वीडियो रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है और ये वीडियो को अपलोड किया जाएगा यूट्यूब चैनल पे। इसका मेन इंपॉर्टेंस ये था कि लास्ट ईयर जब हम लोग अप्लाई कर रहे थे तो बहुत से कैंडिडेट्स ढूंढ रहे थे कि कोई सीनियर हो जिससे पता चले कि क्या पढ़ना चाहिए, क्या नहीं पढ़ना चाहिए और इंटरव्यू के लिए कैसे प्रिपेयर करना चाहिए। तो इस बार हमने ये सोचा कि उन सभी एस्पिरेंट्स जो कि प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं इस बार के लिए, उनको हेल्प की जाए और उनको पहले से गाइडेंस दी जाए कि कैसे पढ़ना चाहिए और क्या पढ़ना उनके लिए हेल्पफुल हो। तो आज हमारे साथ जो पैनल में है वो डिफरेंट ब्रांचेस जो हैं आईआईएससी में वो इन्वॉल्व हैं और वो सभी पीएचडी और एक जो है वो एमएस कन्वर्ट करके पीएचडी में हुए हैं जो कि आईआईएससी में है। वीडियो को स्टार्ट करने से पहले मेरा नाम है दीप बख्शी और फिर मेरा जो मास्टर्स था वो था आईआईटी गांधीनगर से। मैंने 3 फॉर्म भरे थे और 3 फॉर्म में से सबसे फर्स्ट प्रायोरिटी थी मैकेनिकल, सेकंड वाज एरो और थर्ड वाज सीडीएस। बहुत से लोगों का क्वेश्चन था।
हेलो दीप,
Yes.
can you turn on your video again? It's not visible.
Why it's not visible, yaar?
It is showing a logo instead.
Oh,
Yeah, now it's
now.
Yeah.
Sorry. So सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट है कि आप जब भी फॉर्म भरें तो सबसे पहले उसको प्रायोरिटी इम्पोर्टेंट है, क्योंकि अगर हो सकता है कि आप सिलेक्ट हो जाएं कोई प्रोग्राम के अंदर, लेकिन जब आप फीस भरेंगे तो आपको पूछेगा कि आपको यही प्रायोरिटी रखनी है या अपग्रेड करना है। मैं सिलेक्ट हुआ था एरोस्पेस के अंदर और मेरी फाइनल चॉइस हो गई थी कि सीडीएस में जाऊं, लेकिन सीडीएस मेरा थर्ड प्रायोरिटी था तो मैं उसको अपग्रेड नहीं कर सकता था। तो अगर आप जब भी पीएचडी का फॉर्म भर रहे हैं तो आप सबसे पहले वो देखें कि आपकी जो प्रायोरिटी आपको जो चाहिए वही प्रायोरिटी में आपने किया है या नहीं। इस फर्स्ट सजेशन होगा। आप जब भी सिलेक्ट होंगे, 1 सेकेंड ना, ही इज रिक्वेस्टिंग टू ज्वाइन। या सो अगर मैं अपना इंटरव्यू का एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करूं तो बहुत से लोगों ने पूछा कि इंटरव्यू के लिए कैसे पढ़े जाएं और क्या पढ़ें बेसिकली सीडीएस के अंदर। तो सीडीएस के अंदर आपको कोडिंग का सबसे पहला टेस्ट होगा और मैथ्स का टेस्ट होगा। अब कोडिंग स्किल ऐसा नहीं है कि आप 1 या 2 दिन में सीख सकते हैं। अगर आपने पहले से उसको यूज किया है तो आपके लिए एक एडवांटेज का काम करेगी और आपको हेल्पफुल हो सकता है। एरोस्पेस और मैकेनिकल, आप जब भी कोई भी ब्रांच के अंदर अप्लाई करेंगे तो आपको एक टेम्पलेट दे दिया जाएगा कि आपको क्वेश्चंस क्या पूछे जाएंगे और कैसे फ्लो होने वाला है। लाइक इन केस आपको सबसे पहला इंट्रोडक्शन होगा, फिर आपकी सब्जेक्ट प्रायोरिटी पूछी जाएगी और जो भी आप प्रायोरिटाइज करेंगे वही सब्जेक्ट के अंदर डीप इनटू वो लोग जाते जाएंगे। मैं अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करूं तो मैंने एरोस्पेस के अंदर स्ट्रक्चर्स में अप्लाई किया था। तो स्ट्रक्चर्स के अंदर स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ मटेरियल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कोर्स हो जाता है। तो जैसे ही मैंने स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ मटेरियल कहा था तो उन लोगों ने एकदम स्टार्ट और एकदम बेसिक से स्टार्ट किया और फिर डीप डीप उनके अंदर जाते गए। तो ये मेरा था कि स्ट्रक्चर्स के अंदर मैंने अप्लाई किया था और सिलेक्ट हुआ था। अगर आप पूछेंगे क्वेश्चंस के लेवल क्या होता है तो वो एकदम स्क्रैच, एकदम बेसिक से स्टार्ट करेंगे और आपको ब्रिटल पॉइंट जहां तक आप आएगा वहां तक ले जाएंगे। तो अभी हम अपने बारे में बता रहे हैं, उसके बाद जो क्वेरीज हमारे पास आई थी उसका ट्राई करेंगे कि जो भी रिस्पेक्टिव डिपार्टमेंट में है उनका आंसर आपको करें। अब जो होंगे जो सिविल में है वो आपके साथ बात करेंगे।
So yeah, hi, hello everyone. I'm Dheeraj Tamgadge. I'm currently studying in Transportation Systems Engineering, IISc. So मैंने as a PhD join किया था। So basically जैसे दीप ने कहा कि पहले तो प्रेफरेंस क्लियर होना चाहिए आपके माइंड में, तो that is the main thing. After that I can start with my interview experience. So कुछ जनरल क्वेरीज थी, जैसे कि जनरल क्वेश्चंस क्या होते हैं। सो दे स्टार्ट विद बेसिकली योर इंट्रोडक्शन की मतलब कहाँ से बिलोंग करते हो, लाइक बीटेक एमटेक ये सब कहाँ से किया है, एंड व्हाट आर योर लाइक फेवरेट सब्जेक्ट्स, लाइक वो भी पूछ लेते हैं स्टार्टिंग में। उसके बाद दिल गो ऑन टू योर बीटेक, मतलब आई एम शेयरिंग माय एक्सपीरियंस कि बीटेक में फोकस किया था कि रिसर्च का एक्सपीरियंस कुछ है क्या। तो आई टोल्ड देम अबाउट माय प्रोजेक्ट्स एंड ऑल, एंड आफ्टर दैट दे वेंट ऑन माय बीटीपी। सो BTP थोड़ा deep में explain करना होता है कि what all the things that you did, what papers वगैरह you have read. After that एक query थी कि technical questions होते हैं या फिर it's only general. So I think it is mostly technical और ऐसा नहीं कि if you are applying for transportation system so they'll ask from transportation. It is mostly mathematics. So मेरे केस में ऐसा था कि basic matrices, determinants और probability और calculus and functions इस पे based था. Another query was selection basis. So selection basis is basically on based on like what is your approach, means if they ask you some question in probability or तुम्हें उसका answer पता है, like you have gone through that type of question, so they'll not go deep into that question. And if you don't know the approach or like you are seeing a question or a type of question for the first time, they'll basically uh, like focus on your approach. So ऐसा नहीं कि आंसर पता है तो हो जाएगा. जिसका आंसर नहीं पता है वही चीज पकड़ेंगे उल्टा और उस पे सोचने के लिए बोलेंगे. लाइक आई हैड मेनी ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस, आई विल डिस्कस देम इन सम टाइम. Okay, so after that one last technical question is always key, at least in my interview.
Sorry to interrupt. Your video is visible to everyone, I guess, or no?
I have turned on my video.
I can see the video.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so it's issue on my side.
So yeah, so उसके बाद था कि कोडिंग में कुछ एक्सपीरियंस है क्या और like are you okay with the coding? So shall I tell my like interview questions now or what should I do?
Means we can have all the panels. After that, we can discuss our questions as well, if time permits.
Yeah, so basically I am telling is just focus on maths and approaches, not like मतलब रटे रटा प्रूफ से कुछ नहीं होता. लाइक आई डिडंट, अगर आइगन वैल्यूज की प्रॉपर्टीज पूछते हैं तो like you should know how to like reach to the conclusions of eigenvalues and their properties and matrices and all. So yeah, I'll go through my interview questions. I have them written down. So after everyone finishes, if we have time, like I'll go through them.
Nilesh?
Okay. So I'll keep my video off. Is it fine? If you want to really proper.
Yeah, completely fine.
Okay. So hello everyone. Myself Nilesh, and I'm doing currently Ph.D. in aerospace engineering in specifically structure stream. And prior to that, I have finished my M.Tech Research in the same department under the same professor. So basically, in the interview, specifically in structures, we need only two subjects. That first one is the strength of materials, and the second one is the engineering mathematics, as Deep also mentioned before. So basically, they will just ask us like, what are the basic or fundamental concepts in these two subjects. Okay, if we start from the, let's say, strength of materials. So in my M.Tech research interview as well as PhD interview, I mean both the interviews were almost like a similar. Just the questions were different, but their strategy to analyze like a student's mindset was almost same. So basically, what they will tell us is just to they will start the interview by like just formal questions like how are you and all those things, like personal questions, something like background or something. And then they will just ask a very simple question like the generally structures interview starts with a cantilever beam problem. So where they will just introduce, I mean they will just introduce a few like the loading cases as well as the dimensions for the cantilever beam. So it will start from that. So once you solve that problem, then they will just increase its difficulty level. They will just try to make it more complex, and they will see basically how how strategically you are approaching the problem. So basically, it doesn't matter whether you end up solving it rightly or wrongly. that doesn't matter, but just the approach behind that, like how you approach your problem, that is the most important thing. So, and one thing about the interview was, so it was not actually exactly an interview. It was like a discussion, or like I felt it as a discussion, or the conversation was going on, something like that. So basically, whenever if we are whenever we are stuck in at some point, so they will try to motivate us. Okay, they will try to they will give some hints, like how shall we progress with that problem. So it was like encouraging kind of interview. So, and so basically, yeah, we just need to be aware, basically aware of the fundamental things. And so, I mean, if you're not able to solve very complicated problem in a short duration of time, that is completely fine. But just we need to be aware of the fundamental things. Like they can ask us like in anything. So for strength of materials, the engineering mechanics is the like a basic subject. So basically, we have to start from engineering mechanics. So first, I would suggest to get the fundamentals of the engineering mechanics done, and then start like a strength of materials. Because I mean, in BTech we are finishing both the subjects, right? But at the end, we are like most probably we don't know the like the difference between the like a center of gravity and center of mass. Like in my M.Tech interview, I didn't know that. So basically, that doubt got cleared in the interview itself. One of the professors that told me that is how the difference is. So basically, what are the terminologies are there, basic. So that we need to be aware of, and just how to approach the problem strategically we need to work on. So that skill will get developed by solving many problems. Okay. And yes. So, and yeah, in PhD interview, so basically they didn't ask me questions from the areas instructors I was aware of. Basically, they because in my masters my work was on in the field of non-destructive techniques and its evaluation for composite structures. So basically, they didn't ask me much from the structures point of view. They just asked me from the entity point of view. Entity also they asked me from the like electrical side, like how the uh, ho- how the signals are getting generated, how the energy conversion happens from electrical energy to the mechanical energy, and mechanical energy to electrical energy. So basically, I was not aware of this concept before. So just they were just looking like how strategically I'm approaching the problem. So I just knew some fundamental of from engineering background, like the relationships between the current, resistance, and the voltage, and all those things. So from those things, how I'm arriving to calculate the energies in electrical energy, and comparing with the mechanical energy. So they were just trying to figure out like how strategically we are approaching the problem for solving it. So that's it. And in engineering mathematics, they will not dig into like very complex things. They will just try to see what are try to see what are the basic concepts, like eigenvectors are there, eigenvalues are there. So those things are important in mathematics, and again some calculus things. That's it. So I think they will not ask like anything very tedious or very complex things. They will just ask some fundamental things, and the interview is very like they will interact very friendly. So there is no stress at all in interview. So that's from my side. Thank you.
Thanks, Nilesh. Anay, can you come again?
हिंदी में करना है या इंग्लिश?
Completely your choice. English would be preferable.
Okay, so hello everyone. I'm Anish Shambekar, and I did my BTech and MTech as an integrated dual degree from IIT Madras. I joined IISc in February 2021 as a PhD scholar at the Computational Wave Mechanics Lab in the Department of Aerospace Engineering. So one of the common questions that comes for people from mechanical background is like, say, how do you prepare for aerospace engineering interviews? So there is some there is a significant overlap between certain subjects, like in aerospace structures, for which I was applying. The concepts that they typically ask from are from like strength of materials and basic solid mechanics. So it's important to focus on like clearing your basics in those subjects. As Nilesh mentioned earlier, they'll start with some simple points and then they'll keep on going deep and like analyzing what exactly you are thinking. And there isn't a lot of pressure or someone like a time ticking by. You have to understand that the people in the interview are also trying to help you figure out. They'll drop hints if they think that you are stuck at some point. One important difference between aerospace and mechanical engineering interviews is that aerospace has a significant chunk of mathematics in it. So, like your ordinary differential equations, basic calculus, then maybe polynomials, stuff like that. So you need to ensure that you are comfortable solving such kinds of questions. And yeah, like in the interview for mechanical engineering interviews, they'll ask you like which concepts you are familiar with. So like I chose heat transfer as I also have interest in that apart from structures. So again, same thing, they'll start from basics and they'll keep on, say by basics what I mean is something like they'll start with two-dimensional heat transfer equation, or maybe a simple pendulum, or how do you differentiate between engineering strain and true strain. So some of these questions, like the last one specifically, I wasn't very aware myself. You go through these very quickly through your undergraduate or graduate courses, and so you might miss out. But again, like if you think out loud, they are there to help. So yeah, that's sort of my experience.
Thanks, Anand. Next, we have from geostructures, sustainable technologies.
Yeah. Hi. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible. Yes.
Okay. Hi guys. Let me on my camera. Okay. Hello guys. So this is Anand. So I completed my master from IIT Madras in 2019. After that, I joined IIT Patna as a project staff, because before that I was not sure whether I should do the PhD thing or should I go in research. So that's why I joined the IIT Patna as a junior research JRF, junior research fellow. So from there I realized that no, I should go. From there I got interest in field of research. So let me talk about the interview about IISc Bangalore. So I think most of the point was already covered by all this, like Deep, Nilesh, Dheeraj, and I already have covered. But there is a few points that I would like to highlight, like interview guidelines. Since this is the online interview, there will be certain guidelines. So you have to focus on that. Like you should be before the interview, you should prepare with the pen, papers, and what pen, like a marker, this thing, so that will be visible in the camera. So this thing you should be prepared and also familiar with the app, whatever app, like teammates and the Skype. So this thing you should be familiar with before the interview, so that while the interviewing, you should not be any interruption, like I had in interview. So that was a mistake that I had done. So I don't want that you should do that. So this is the thing that you should remember while interview, before the interview. And the one more thing, before the interview, so in which field you want to go, I think you should be clear about that field. Suppose in mechanical engineering you want to go thermal design or production manufacturing, any of the field, just go through the IISc Bangalore website and go to each department and see the profile of each and every faculty. From there you will get to know about which faculty working in which field, and then what topic or what types of work they are doing. So from there you will get to know about the faculty profile, and suppose you will select 4 or 5 faculty which will be suitable for your research in the PhD. So this thing you should do before the interview. At least go through the profile and check the field, in which field they are working, so that you will be prepared according to that. And after that, the interview. So interview, there is a thing that be confident about that question. Suppose they won't ask any question that you don't know. Just keep it simple. They won't ask any question. Just they will ask the certain question that will be difficult. Yeah, definitely. But that will start from the basics. If you know the basic of that question, just you should approach that question. Whether you end with that result, means result is good or bad, doesn't matter. You should approach. They see how you approach the question. And one more thing, the teachers of the means what whoever will be the members in the interview panel, they are very supportive. Wherever you will stuck, they will help you. They will give the hint that how to approach this question. Like I was given a question of maths, like a numerical method. There was a certain question that I was stuck with the question. So they gave me the hint like how to approach this question and how you get. And finally, I got to solve with the help of the professors. So you need not to worry. Only they will see how do you approach the questions. So these are the things that you have to remember before the interview. and and also, yeah, with the app, be familiar just 1 or 2 days before. use use the app, whatever app was given in your interview, means call letter. Use that app with your friend, so that you will be familiar with the app. So while interview, you should not be any problem with that. And yeah, there might be certain branch which is the interdisciplinary branch, so prepare for the both. Like in some branches, interdisciplinary, mechanical and electrical, so you should be prepared with the both mindset. and and just clear brush up your knowledge. I think most of the students already have appeared in the gate 2021, so their basics will be definitely clear, but still you have to and brush up your basic knowledge, and just be confident in the interview. Thank you.
Anand, sorry to disturb you. Just one add-on question. What you can expect from sustainable technology interview panel means? What are the questions?
So in sustainable technology, actually there are the professor of the different branches. So there is not a professor in the sustainable technology. Like you will find the professor from mechanical branch, electrical branch, chemistry branch, each and every branch. So basically, it will depend on you. Suppose you are from the mechanical branch, then definitely the professor from the mechanical branch, they will ask the question. There might be certain professor, they will ask the question from the different, like electrical, because of the interdisciplinary. So you will find the two guides, they can ask some question from electrical. But when I was in the interview, so they asked about the only mechanical questions. So what I have done in the project, yeah, one more thing that I forgot to tell you. Whatever project you have done in undergraduate or postgraduate, just be prepared with that. They will ask about the question about your project, whatever you have done, and you you should answer all the question, because that project you have done. And mechanical, they will ask, if you are in mechanical, so they will definitely ask the simulation, like what types of simulation you have done, like CAD, mm, sorry, yeah, CAD, CFD, this type of simulation they will ask. Yeah, if you have done this types of any simulation, definitely they are gonna ask what the simulation and where what's the application of that, and where you have used in your project. These types of question they will ask. So basically, it won't depend on the sustainable technology that they are gonna ask different question. It will depend on you from which branch you are, and they will ask according to your branch. That is.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Okay. Next we have from Shwikrut Bhai.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I hope I'm visible. Yes? Great. So thank you very much, Deep, for organizing this panel here. And
Sorry to interrupt. You are not visible, I guess.
I'm not visible? I think
Yeah, you
I'm
are
visible.
visible.
It might be a problem.
You're
With
visible.
yours. Right? It's fine? Visible? Cool.
Yeah.
Right. So my name is Swikrit Pai, and I recently graduated from IISer Mohali in the year of 2020 itself, with my major being in biology. And well, today here I am in IISc in the Brain and Artificial Intelligence program, which is a very new program. It just started last year, and it's one of the many interdisciplinary programs offered by IISc. And yeah, so Where do I even start from? Let's see. I think the first thing I want to let everyone know is that, even coming to the interviews here in IISc for me has been a very interesting process. Before this, in the year of 2020, I had actually made it to the final round of NCBS interviews within biology. However, unfortunately, at the time, I was not able to make it past the final round. And so I used that experience to prepare really well for the IISc interviews in January. And I think that, from all of that experience really did pay off. And I hope to convey all of that to you in the session that I'm talking about today. So my interest has always been, my first love in research has always been neuroscience since high school. And that is why when it came to the IISc interviews, I decided I was actually going to apply only to the Center for Neuroscience or CNS department, but then they had announced this newly started Brain and Artificial Intelligence program. So I thought, because a lot of my interests were slowly moving out of biology and more towards interdisciplinary subjects and a lot of math and physics as well, I thought it would be a good choice for me to go ahead and try something a little new, a little different, and something which will be more interesting in the long run. So that is why I gave my first preference to the BAI department, or Brain and Artificial Intelligence, and second to CNS. Now, coming to some important things that I have to mention. Now, all of my friends here have already mentioned a lot of the things which I had written out, but I will just go through very quickly whatever else I have left to say before we go into the interview question specific part. So, can I share my screen, Deep? I'll go ahead and do that if you don't have a problem.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'm sharing content. Let's see. Google Keep. Yeah, that's correct. So I hope you can all see the screen that I've shared, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do I have here? So I made a small Google Keep note of different pointers I wanted to tell you all. Some of them have already been covered, so I'll not go over them for too much time. Yeah, so I'll skip the coding one because I guess that's been talked about. Yeah, know your preference of department in advance. You will likely have to take your higher preference allotment. Okay, so this is crucial because for those of you who have applied to or are going to apply to multiple departments, know very well that what you want to go into as a first preference. Afterwards, there will be a few days post your second interview if you're selected for you to change your department order preference if you really feel that, like, all of a sudden, no, I want to give this one higher preference. But what happened in my case is I got shortlisted for the Brain and Artificial Intelligence program, and I was actually put on the wait list of the Center for Neuroscience thing. I was actually of the opinion that I would be selected in both because I had done very well in the neuroscience interview, in my opinion, actually even better than BAI. But for some reason, I was waitlisted in my second preference department. If you think about this, this makes a little sense because obviously, if my first preference was brain and artificial intelligence, then if I go into CNS after that, then I'm pushing someone else out of the preference order for someone who had put CNS as their first preference. So make sure you know which preference your department is. I mean, you know your departmental preferences before you apply, because later on it might get a little tricky for you to change it. Okay, that point being mentioned. Revise your application form, neatly keep all your necessary documents in a folder. Now, there are going to be at least some 5 or 6 different PDFs which are going to be given to you before your interview, and it'll get a little cumbersome. So please keep them all together and revise your application form. Very important, especially in some places like NCBS, where they also require you to mention a little bit about yourself or an essay about your achievements. It would be very funny if you forgot your own application form in the interview. So don't do that. That would be sad. Remember what you wrote in your application form. Yeah, this point I think was mentioned by Anant, that, like, get used to Meet, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams. They're the two most widely used, I think, software right now. Zoom was also there, but chalo, any one of these at least, preferably Teams is what IISc uses. But just get to know these softwares. Keep your paper and pen and all ready for the interview. It's always good to not be stressed at the last minute. Jamboard, you can or don't have to learn it. It's okay, but at least keep pen and paper ready with you. Few days before the interview, don't stress out. Very important. A lot of people actually are very well qualified in their subject and they know how to answer questions, but because they studied till the last minute on the day of the interview, they panic and they for lack of other words, polite words to put it, they screw up, and you shouldn't be in that position, right? So take some time off before the interview, and if possible, prepare a document if you want, if you have the time, trying to understand why you are doing this in the first place, like whatever your motivation is for a PhD. So for your example here, I made a document. It's a little long, but the point is I was convincing myself why I wanted to do the PhD. And if I know why I want to do a PhD, then definitely explaining it to the advisors in the interview panel will be easier. So keep that in mind. Moving forward. Okay, this is another thing. Now, this happened to us, what do you say, mid-year admittees, especially for 2021. I'm not sure whether this applies to all of you, but in a lot of departments, there are only certain labs which are taking students. Not all labs are taking students. So before you go in for the interview, you should check which labs are taking students, and you should have a preference of professor among them. So this is important because when you're selected, unless your lab, unless like, for example, you go to Center for Neuroscience where they have a rotation system, you will be selected to work under a particular professor. So it makes it much easier for them to select you as a student if you know which professor you want to work with. It helps them in matching you to the professor, and it also increases your chances of getting selected, in my opinion. So you should keep your preference in mind, not only of the department, like I mentioned before, but also know which professor. And if you have the time, try communicating with them via mail beforehand. Now, some professors might not respond, but that's okay. At least you tried. But for those who do respond, usually when you communicate with the professor beforehand, it shows that you're interested, and they will keep in mind that you will come for the interview. And so that might increase your chances. I never ended up doing this, but that's for a slightly different reason, because the professor who I ended up having the interview with had actually done an internship with in the past. So but still, the point is having a line of communication open with your professor of choice will increase your chances. Usually, there are cases where that might not happen, but okay. All right, moving forward. Okay, now getting into the more technical stuff, where I think I will not spend too much time if they've already been covered, but especially for those that are interested in systems neuroscience and interdisciplinary topics like the brain and artificial intelligence, like I was. I think Anna had mentioned this, these are some of the very basic math topics, and even in neuroscience, you cannot escape them. Even if you're a biology major student, at least have a little bit of a background in this before you come for an interview. I focused particularly on linear algebra, and I spent at least around a month just revising that one thing. And so I didn't spend much time on calculus and probability and statistics, but at least I did well in that one area. So don't if you're running out of time, at least be good in a couple of things rather than have this scattered knowledge about everything, because then that's going to be bad for your questioning, for your question session. Okay. And yeah, there are some good textbooks which can help you and stuff like that, but I will come to that during the interview questions round. Know your basics, that is 10+2 level. I think this goes without saying. A lot of the first round interview questions, and this is probably across departments, my friends would agree, require you to know your PCMB up to grades 10, 11, and 12 as much as you can. And a lot of graphing questions usually feature in the first round. This is something I noticed in my NCBS and TIFR interview, as well as in the IISc interview. The first round was purely graphing. So you should know how to draw logarithmic function, polynomials, so basically powers, exponentials, linear functions, and certain equations which are important. For example, within neuroscience is the Nernst equation. So you should know that equation and how it probably changes as you alter the parameters. So these kind of basic questions are expected. You're supposed to know how to answer them in the first round. They're usually not very difficult questions, so don't worry too much. But if you have forgotten graphing and functions and stuff, it's good for you to revise upon that. Okay, have a project in mind before you go in for your second round, or do the necessary reading if a project has been specified. So for example, within the brain and artificial intelligence program, we had a select number of projects which we were allotted, and we had to choose one which we found the most interesting, and we had to prepare based on that. But in some cases, you don't really have a project which is given to you. For example, in the Center for Neuroscience, over there, it's just a rotations-based system, and they select you after, I think, a year or 3 semesters or something like that. So in that case, what you should be aware of is it's good to have a project in mind for the second round. This is something an alumni of the lab told me, and it really did help me. So if you know, a kind of an idea which you're interested in within your field of research, it would be very good if you have a sort of a project ready in mind that you can discuss about with the interviewers, and it'll also let them know that you are actually interested and you've done your homework before you even came to the interview process, and you're not just answering questions from gate and so on, that you actually have a research bent of mind. So projects are important for that. And yeah, this I think has already been covered. Don't hesitate to tell your, okay, like, your interviewers are not there, like they're not your enemies. They are going to help you out in case you do need help. For example, in Brain and AI program, I had a difficulty with this topic of radius of gyration. I had no idea what it was because I was a bio student, and the last time I'd heard about something similar was 11th grade physics. But then he told me instead, to simplify it, just find the centroid of points in an n-dimensional space. And so how I approached this question was, I first dealt with it in 2D, and after doing it in 2D, then generalizing it to ND was not that difficult. So that is the kind of way in which you attack even difficult problems can be broken down into simpler pieces. So this is just an example where the interviewer also assisted me in answering the question, and I was able to answer it in a step-by-step fashion. So this is one suggestion to everyone, break down your problems and solve them in a step-by-step in an algorithmic way. It usually leads to good results. And yeah, please don't hesitate to tell your interviewers if you don't know about a topic. So they asked me some questions from probability and statistics, and I clearly did not revise that enough. So, I mean, I wouldn't be expected to talk much about it. In such cases, it's okay if you don't answer, but you should let them know clearly that you're not very good with this topic. If you tell them that you know the topic and then you go on to talk a lot about it and then you talk nonsense or give the wrong answers, that'll create a bad impression on the interviewers that you're just speaking whatever comes off the top of your head and you have not done your background reading. So please keep this in mind. Yeah. And right, other things like if you've worked with professors or collaborators before, make sure you know whatever projects you worked on in the past. And these are more general things. These are not very technical related things, but in any interview, you should not be desperate, even though it is a very important process and it will determine whether or not you get into a PhD into IISc. Remember, there are a lot of universities out there and you will be probably applying to others also, not just IISc. Keep in mind that, what do you say? If they ask you a question such as have you applied to other places, which you most likely have, you don't have to give them every single detail that, yeah, I've been selected here or no, I've been rejected by this place. Just let them know that, yes, I've applied to a few places. And more importantly, let them know why IISc is important to you. So at the end of the day, you want to get selected in IISc, you need to convince the interviewers that IISc is a good fit for you and they will also like to have you in the institute. So you should tell them a few things that IISc is particularly important for you if you do know that. For example, for me, because I had already done an internship in IISc and I'm a Bangalorean, IISc for me is a beautiful place and it has been very important for me in a lot of past events also. So I could use this thing to my advantage in justifying why IISc is one of my preferred selections. Okay, so do this. You can impress your interviewers, and if they ask you about weaknesses, you can talk about it. But please do make sure you talk about how you also improved upon them and stuff. In a lot of these interviews, they don't really spend too much time on personality questions, so don't worry about them. It's usually technical, but just keep these things in mind. And yeah, last thing, sorry, I've taken so much time, but I hope I have been able to convey some useful information to you guys. It's not a one-way process. An interview is always, people think that it's always the interviewers asking the interviewee questions, but you also can ask your interviewers questions. You can ask them about the institute, the program, what kind of opportunities you'll have, how well are the alumni doing, and all of that. It's important for you to make a wise decision, and a PhD is a two-way process. Always remember that you must find your advisor to be suitable. It's not enough for the advisor to find you suitable. If you do not like the way research is being conducted in a particular lab, or you do not find compatibility with a particular person, then that's important for you too. So remember not to sell yourself short. You're also important in this process. Ask them questions and let them know that you're very interested in the whole process that's going on and so on. So I've covered the list of general things that I had to mention. I will now hand over the mic without any further delay, I think, to Ajay, who will take on, and I will stop sharing. Yeah, there we go.
Ajay, you are muted.
Okay, I hope now it is clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will first discuss about my interview experience in CPS department, and then give if any tips that might be relevant. So in the beginning, I have applied in July semester itself, but I didn't get selected to the CPS program in IISc Bengaluru. Uh, so it goes on with two steps. I got an interview letter. It details out the topics I have to be prepared with. We have been given a choice of 5 topics, of which 4 are maths related. And of these 5, we have to choose 2 topics. And the interview will be completely related to these two topics. It will be discussed with these 2 topics. And since the CPS department is a completely interdisciplinary department, people from mechanical, electrical, and CSC, everyone will apply. So there is no need to panic. Suppose since there are already 4 topics of which are completely math related, uh, like people might have asked me, some people have asked me, what are the, I mean, can we expect any core subject related questions? Then how to approach about that and those things. So I would have to suggest here that majority of the interview, if not most, will be related to few maths related questions. And the 5 topics that I'm telling you were like starting with linear algebra and differential equations and probability and statistics and Laplace and G transform. And the final one, which is not math, was data structures and algorithms. So if you are a CSE background, please, I mean, get ready to expect some questions from data structures and algorithm, brush up your concepts. I am from mechanical background. I chose linear algebra and differential equations, and yeah, that's about it. And about you will also be given by now a list of projects that are being offered for PhD students in CPS department. So go through the complete Excel sheet and find out the preference about like which field you should be working on, and the ideal scenario for interview would be uh, the basic and advanced level, like it would be said in your interview letter. In the basic level, you will be asked questions related to the topics, the 5 topics I'm telling you right now. After that, I mean, not 5 topics, you have to choose only 2 topics, effectively 2 topics, which can be math or data structures and algorithm related topic. And after you clear, after interview is finished asking about this, they'll ask you what is the preferred topic among the list of topics. If you did some literature study, not very like not very deep, but at least enough to know what you're going to apply for. That would be ideal, and I would request. I mean, I would obviously advise you to do that. In my case, I mean, most of the time was spent on basic level, and after that, they just simply ask me what is the first reference of the project topic you want to work in your PhD, and I replied my first reference, and that's, I mean, nothing much was discussed. So yeah, and I want to share some information about. I'm sharing few links in the chat box. I hope Deep will provide you these things. So these were one just a second. Okay, I have shared one link. So why I'm sharing is these were material from my college time, and if you were to looking, I mean, you have to obviously prepare for some maths related topic, linear algebra or differential equations. In that case, the material I'm sharing right now, it has a drive link, and you can access the my college science course material. It would be extremely beneficial since you guys might have already been very thorough with linear algebra and differential equations. This you can easily catch on, and don't try to completely go deep, but certainly the basics part. is what you will be expected to know. And every time you answer a question, let's say, what is the rank of a matrix? So you don't just say something and not expect it to cross question. So you will say something related to row echelon form. Then they will ask you again, what is row echelon form? So for that, you should be completely thorough with what you're telling. So in that case, like there should be no conceptual gap in your understanding. That is one thing I would say. And in my case, most of the time was spent around linear algebra. That is one very important topic. I will be be prepared to grill in that area. And that's about it. I have shared one drive link that is related to linear differential equations, I suppose. There is one more I'm trying to share. These two links, I mean, these are very good source. I mean, if you are able to catch up to it, then it is more than sufficient, I think. So yeah, that's it. All the best. Thank you.
That was a good closure from all our side. Now we can take up some few questions or anything we can have any specific. I would just like to ask Ajay that what is M.Tech Research from Robot Bosch Center for Cyber Physical System? Means can you just give a more insight on that? Means is it 5 year, 4 year, 3 year, or it is a PhD or it is M.Tech Research, means MS or what?
It is similar to M.Tech Research program in mechanical. So I mean, it will be there will be external evaluation for the project in the second year. The coursework will be relatively less, or if not less, same as that of M.Tech, the regular M.Tech program, but uh, the project will be evaluated externally.
Can you just have any idea about the duration of the project? Will it be for 5 years, 3 years, or something of that sort?
No, it won't be extended to that much time. At max, if you are doing well, you can get out in a total of 2 years duration. And because it is an external evaluation, usually if the instructor was not very happy or satisfied with the work, it might get extended to 2.5 or 3 years total. I'm telling the total degree of duration.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Swikrut, can you answer one question that is related to BioScience and System Engineering department? The person is from MSc Mathematics background. So how should he prepare for this?
Okay, math background student.
Yes.
So,
and he's applying in BioScience.
Has he also considered applying to, is BSSC the only department he's applying to, or has he mentioned that there's a secondary department also that he's interested in? Because for him in particular, there's one which I would personally recommend. There is one called the Institute, the Interdisciplinary Mathematics Initiative. So what you've heard of, right, from Ajay is he's in the cyber physical systems. I'm in the brain and AI. This IMI is also an interdisciplinary thing from IISc, and he doesn't have to solely get into a project through BSSC. In fact, he can apply through IMI and he might have a very good chance through that because they will prioritize a lot more on his background in that particular division. As long as he gets the project and the instructor he wants to work with, even through IMI, I would also recommend he gives this a shot. Although applying through BSSC is also it's not too big of a problem. I'm just giving this as a first suggestion. Okay, now moving forward with the question which you asked. So preparing for BSSC, being a math background student. So a lot of the questions that will be asked will, of course, this applies to any student that is not in the major or the area that they're applying to within the PhD. They will take into account the fact that the student has done mathematics, and the kind of questions that he or she will be asked is that will be mathematical in nature, but then the question, it'll be applied to something related to biology or physics related. So the important thing I would suggest is it's not necessary for the student to necessarily, start cramming in a lot of biology knowledge the day before the interview or something. That's not going to be required at all. In fact, even the bio interviews, I mean, the neuroscience interviews for me were not very biology heavy, because I told them that, like, I prefer, like, these kind of slightly more mathematical questions. So as long as he makes his preferences and this thing's clear, then the questions that he'll be asked will be kind of tailored to whatever he's already done. He should be strong in his existing concepts, and just know a few things related to like biology, like it's not that important. Like, in fact, a lot of people, even within the bio departments, they get students from math, physics, chemistry, etc., and they learn the biology along the way. Having a little bit of a knowledge is always advantageous, but I would say the student doesn't have to worry too much. Just keep in mind, like, be ready to transfer your knowledge of mathematics to a question which is more in biology, and don't get too overwhelmed by the terms they use. So they might say gene, protein, amino acid, something like that. But what you are interested in is finally getting the answer. So you have to kind of be able to abstract your problem from a biology problem to a math problem, which is something which a lot of mathematicians would be very good at doing. So if he has this skill, then I would say that you're set even for BSSC, or for that matter, any kind of any other department's questions also. Just consider the IMI, because I think you will have a very good chance through that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Dheeraj, you want to share your interview experience or something of that sort?
Actually, my interview experience was like mostly based on the 5 topics that Ajay has told. So it was, means if you like revise those topics, the mathematics topics, that will be all, I guess. Means just go through the proofs and go through the theory, and not just the like the what we can say, the theorems. That won't help. Like you have to go through the proofs and all, and yeah, just know the theory behind them. And yeah, the professors are quite helpful, so they will help you like for your interviews. That's it. Others, the questions actually have been covered by the others, so there's no
Yeah.
need.
Yeah, thanks. Anand, you want to say something? I guess your hands is raised. Is it?
Sorry.
Or
Hello. Yeah.
you want to say
Hello.
something, or it's just by mistake your hand
Yeah,
was
yeah,
raised?
yeah. No. Regarding the BSSC interview, I asked one of my friend. So he told about that, like they will ask question the 11th, 12th level maths. That your question was now some
Yes,
related to
yes,
BSSC interview.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they will ask question from the class 11th or 12th level math questions. So like graph prediction based on the given function. They will give the some function like e to the power x and some equation, and they will ask what will be the graph and the factorization and eigenvector that will be expected to ask in the question in the interview. So that will be the 11th or 12th level. And also there's some basic question of the biology, like enzyme kinetics, central dogma, and the growth kinetics that will be expected to ask. And one main thing is they will propose the some project in the website. So students should go through the website. There will be set, I think 10 to 12 projects will be there, and go through all the project. So in interview, they will definitely ask about the project, in which project you are interested in, and they will ask question related to that project. So I think this is the
Yeah, that
things
would be
they have said.
nice. That would
Yeah.
be nice. Yeah. Apart from that, there was one question that I'm a mechanical and I've applied for CDS, how to prepare coding and related that stuff. So for coding, you should know the basics of maths, right? So coding is a skill which can be learned. So they are not very eager that you know this all that. You have to try your code part. If that doesn't work in the interview part, like in my case, my code was not running. One could run and one didn't. In the interview part, they asked me what the logic was I was thinking for that problem, and I have to explain them why it didn't work or any of that issue. So rest assured that you should be able to convince them that why your code was not working and what was the problem you were facing at that time. If you are able to convince it, I guess coding won't be the hindrance to your getting selected in that CDS department. Apart from that, if anyone has any suggestions or something, we are open to have you. Okay, just a final closure. Don't panic and try to put it on paper. Don't just say words. If the interviewer is asking you to explain, try to put it on paper and explain that this is what you are trying to explain. Don't just say that sine curve will be like this and this. Don't try to put it on air. Try to put it on paper. That is one suggestion. If you are preparing for GATE, it will be surely going to help you. And rest assured, your basic knowledge is going to be tested. Not other than that. Apart from that, I really thank to all the panels here that you spared your time from assignments or tests, because in IISc generally Saturday Sundays are for tests or assignments, and you have spared your time for the candidates who are going to prepare for the IISc interviews. I really want to thank you all. Thanks.
I think Ajay wants to say something.
Oh, so sorry.
Yes,
Ajay.
yes.
Yeah.
So I have shared two links, of which one is real analysis and the other is calculus. So like candidates don't have to spend so much time on real analysis part. Just a linear algebra part up to eigenvectors, eigenvalues is sufficient. Nothing more than that. And similarly, the other one is completely multivariable calculus. So don't spend wasting your time on multivariable calculus. Just the differential equations part and a single variable calculus if it helps. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Can you just share the link in the mail? I will send it in the comment section.
Yes, yes, I did send all the
Thanks.
links.
Thanks. Pai, do you want to say something?
Yeah, so just wanted to, well, since we're concluding here, thanks so much for this. It was very nice, this session and everything. And it also took me a bit through the memory lane as to how my interviews went. I spent a lot of time covering a lot of the, generic details. I don't think we got enough time to get around to particular interview questions. So because I have, as I'd mentioned earlier to my friends here, that I've made a good record of all the questions that I've had, even in the NCBS interviews and the IISc interviews. For those of you especially from a biology background, or even if you're not from a bio background, for example, that the student who was from a mathematics background applying to BSSC, if you want to get a flavor of the kind of bio questions that we deal with and so on, what I will do is I will probably create a document with the questions prepared and share it with Deep, who can then upload this in the description section of the YouTube video when it's uploaded, including the keep notes summary which I made, which I talked about. So you guys can read it at your leisure and hopefully prepare accordingly for the questions. All the best, and would love to see you here in this institute when you get selected. All right.
Thanks. Any closing statement by anyone, or we are good to close?
I think Sweekruth has closed it very well, so we can stop.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you all. All the best for all the sprints.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.